In this video, I'll be showing you how to create a tracker in PVFARM. It's worth noting that if you have a CAD block of your tracker, you can go about importing it, but we'll cover that in a series about importing. In this case, we'll be creating our tracker solely in the PVFARM app with the information given by the tracker manufacturer. To start with, let's go over how to build it. Like you've seen in other videos in this series, in order to build a piece of equipment 100% on the PVFARM app, you'll have to find an existing equipment, add it to the scene, and make changes in the object details panel for that object. So I'm going to grab one of these NX Horizon trackers. Once I'm in the object details panel, the first thing we'll do is scroll past some of this locked or irrelevant stuff. We'll come back to a few things up here later. And select the module from this drop-down menu here. You'll need to have already created the module you're using. If you haven't, please go back to the module video in this series to learn more about that. Also, it's important to note that you shouldn't adjust any of the stuff under the module drop-down as it can cause issues. This is information that's being pulled from the properties of these modules. And if I wanted to change this to, let's say, a 450 watt mod, I can't just come in here and type 450. That will cause an error to occur. I want to come here and select it in my dropdown. The next section we see here is position. You'll see that it is locked because you can manipulate these things in generation. So we can scroll past that for now. So let's look at the commercial section under tracker frame. This is where you can determine how your object shows up in the catalog. We're going to adjust our manufacturer, model, series, and type. You can fill all this information out based on your new tracker. So if I say I have this spec sheet right here, I can follow whatever information is on here and make that adjustment. So if you look at our catalog, you'll see it's organized first by the object type, which is a tracker. The next thing it takes into consideration is the manufacturer, which is NX Horizon in this case. So it is most important that you make sure the manufacturer has the correct name. For example, here I have a generic tracker that I have used for testing, and I made sure that it shows up as generic as this first subcategory. After that, it's going to come up with the length, which is auto-generated by the system. You'll notice here that we have our model number, and then our mod information, then the length, which is auto-generated by the system. If you come over to the top here under name, you can actually make this adjustment here, and it's going to override everything we just looked at. We don't recommend you do this, however, because the auto name function will give you a more consistent naming convention. But of course, this is up to your team's workflow. All right, the next section we're going to look at is the dimensions section, also under tracker frame. And the most important thing we want to note about this is this checkbox right here that says Use Modules Row. Checking this enables rows notation, which we want to use when a tracker has irregular distances between groups of modules. To understand rows notation, you'll need to know that in this sequence of numbers dashes are piles. The numbers represent the number of mods between piles, and the M stands for the motor. So 7-6 means there are 7 mods, then a pile, then 6 mods. So to make this a full run, I'll type 6-7-M-, then 7-6. I'll turn it to the side and you can see it's broken them up the way I wanted. If you want a pile at the end, for example, in this sequence we're looking at, say I want a pile at the end here, I would add a 0 and a dash. That puts a pile right there. And it's important to note, if you're going to be doing it this way, the total numbers need to be divisible by the string size. For example, if the string size is 6 and this run here adds up to 26, that won't work. If you look at the modules count X, it says that I have 30 modules, which we know isn't true. So I'd have to figure out where to subtract 2 in the sequence to make it a total of 24, or add 4 to make it 30, so that I'll have a tracker that's going to work. So maybe I'll come in and add 2 on either end of the tracker. You can also potentially get this information from the tracker manufacturer themselves. I actually have here an example of a PDF provided by the tracker manufacturer, which gives me exactly how this sequence should be broken down. If you don't have a tracker with irregular distances between piles, you can unselect this box. Now a few more of the options are unlocked and you can make the adjustments here. Turned off use of the rows notation, you can adjust your length by adjusting the strings count. And down here under string, you can adjust how many mods per string you have. You can see as I'm adjusting these values, how things automatically update as you adjust. Piles count, mods count, power, etc. Now it is important to note this is not going to be a single tracker. And then you can simply adjust how long it is when generating. Like now I have it as a 30 mod length. So if that is what I want, I would save it. And if I come back to our catalog, you see we have all these different lengths. So if this is a tracker and mod configuration that I don't already have in my catalog, I'll need to make a version of the tracker for any length and module configuration I want to use in my project. Moving on from lengths, in the string section, you can also set how many modules wide your tracker is. For example, I can change this from a 1P to a 2P configuration with modules count Y. Now that we've made some adjustments to our tracker configuration, we could scroll back up to the sections that I went past at the beginning of this video, and we can take a look at the cost section. This is where if you click on either of these little icons with the $sign, you can open up the cost report. So say I want to set my tracker frame cost, that's going to automatically open up and highlight where I would need to put that in if I know what those are. If not, we can always use the default cost and come back to this later in the project. We will be learning more about cost reports in another video. So once we have our tracker set up the way we want, I'm going to come over to the plus sign on my right-hand side here. I'm going to come down, I'm going to click Add Selected Item to the catalog as a BIM asset. And it's going to show me what I have created and give me kind of a preview of what that's going to look like. And if I click on it, it's going to give me some more info right here. So like, let's say I'm looking at this and there's something I want to adjust. I could then go back, make my adjustments and save it again. Keep in mind that you'll need to delete out the old version of the object that we just created. Otherwise you'll get an error. But once it's the way you want it, we're going to click on these 3 lines here and we're going to hit save. And once we have it saved, we're going to open our catalog and you'll be able to see in the catalog where our tracker is. And if I come over to my layout panel and go to my arrays, I'll type in the name of the tracker, NX Horizon with generic mod. And now we can start using it to generate a layout. Thank you for watching.